Today we move on from the patriarchs and we come to the story of Moses. Someone else who was so important in the family of Jesus, but who also gave us a picture of Jesus, our Redeemer, our Liberator, who leads us home, leads us to a new home, a promised land that God has for us. This story comes quite early. It's in Exodus chapter 3, and you could read the whole chapter, but our reading is from verse 11 to 17. It's the story of Moses and the burning bush. Through the wit and the faithfulness of his mother, Moses has been rescued from Pharaoh. And then through God's divine providence and wisdom, he's been raised a prince in Pharaoh's court and lived a lifetime there before intervening in a fight, ending up killing someone and fleeing to the wilderness as a murderer. He rebuilds a new life. He marries. He lives as a shepherd, a trade despised by the Egyptians. And then after another lifetime, he comes and he encounters a burning bush where God speaks to him, reveals who he is, speaks to who Moses is, the purpose in his life, and calls Moses to be the one who answers the prayers of the people of God. Calls Moses and says, you will be in my hand the tool by which I will free my people, by which I will reveal who I am. And there is so much going on here. Moses has to face the guilt and shame of returning to the palace, now doing a despised job, holding a shepherd's stick even. He has to face the guilt and shame of dealing with his own inadequacies, of his hot-temperedness, of his heavy tongue and stumbling words, as he says, as he bargains with God. He has to deal with this sense of identity, trying to understand who God is. And it all comes through this beautiful encounter with the ordinary. This beautiful encounter with the ordinary gives him the promise of home. It's as he's walking about that he sees a bush on fire but not consumed. You've probably heard me quote the poem before. It's one of my favourites. Every bush is afire with the presence of God, but only he who sees takes off his shoes. God has a promise of home for us. And as Moses led the people of God into that promise, so Jesus would lead us into that promise of home. But sometimes to reach that place, to be led by God, we have to think about our own roots, about where we would put limits on ourselves that God would not place on us. And we have to be alive to the burning bushes around us. So as you read this story of Moses, how can it help you prepare your hearts in those areas this Advent? May God speak to you as you read this passage today.